The American people understand how dangerous the situation in Ukraine is for us in this country. We're not immune like many other wars we just sat back and watched. But this one here might well affect us in many ways. So I want to thank you once again for coming. We have about 10 or so speakers to talk to you today. It's important. We've invited the media, of course, notified them to see this turnout. So I'm going to get started by making a few remarks, and then I'm going to turn it over and get the speaker lineup started, okay? We're here today because we oppose war wherever it takes place and whoever initiates it. This time, it's the Russian government that has started the war by invading Ukraine. And already thousands of people have been killed and over 1 million people have been displaced. However, we don't absolve the U.S. government of its responsibility in letting the situation get to this point where we are witnessing a very dangerous and destructive war break out. For years, Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia has seen the expansion of NATO to its borders as it's a threat to its security. The U.S. government has steadfastly refused to consider this as a point for negotiations. The U.S. government's position has led Russia to envision the possibility that American missiles would one day be placed in Ukraine with a flight time of just minutes to Moscow. Some people say that the United States would never attack Russia. And that sounds reasonable because it would present a danger of nuclear war. However, since World War II, the U.S. has invaded one country after another, has overthrown numerous governments, and still remains the only country that has used nuclear weapons against another. And the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is still justified today by many Americans. In a highly interconnected world, it has become increasingly clear that human beings are one people who must share one planet, and that is under tremendous stress to provide the necessary resources for life, liberty, and security for everyone, no matter where they live. The politicians of all countries, the ruling elites, and the wealthy are not providing what's necessary for the world to survive. When political and economic decisions are made to benefit just the wealthy elites, we all suffer, and the poor and oppressed suffer the most. It's been over 30 years since the fall of the USSR, with the result that the U.S. has been the sole superpower and the writer of the rules-based order. It has not gone well. There have been major wars and minor ones, U.S. sanctions placed on countries that have hurt millions of people, and food and water security is out of reach for billions. Not to be overlooked is that the U.S. is now in violation of international law, as it has not complied with the UN treaty to ban nuclear weapons. It's time for Americans to call for a de-escalation of U.S. world dominance. We are not the moral superior nation. Look at the nations America calls its allies. Saudi Arabia with its war on Yemen. Israel, which oppresses the Palestinians. Egypt, which has over 10,000 political prisoners. The list is long. As peace and anti-war activists, we must be internationalists. We must stand against the ruling elites, wherever they are, and stand firm in support of human beings the world over. The planet is facing a climate crisis from which there is no escaping. The politicians and corporations are not going to solve this for us. We must act and demand accountability from our government. Thank you.